The international airport buzzed with life, a constant symphony of rolling luggage, distant chatter, and automated announcements echoing through the sprawling terminal. Captain Rafael "Rafi" del Rosario moved effortlessly through the bustling crowd. Dressed in jeans and a polo shirt, his casual attire allowed him to blend in among the sea of travelers. Despite his unassuming demeanor, Rafi carried decades of experience as a Filipino-American pilot, a pioneer in aviation safety. He was on his way to an aviation summit, where he was scheduled to present groundbreaking safety protocols he had helped develop. For Rafi, it was just another day, his monumental achievements resting lightly on his shoulders. As he approached the restricted area leading to the private lounge for airline crew, Rafi was stopped by Officer Liam Carter, an airport security officer stationed near the access point. Carter, a burly man with a hardened demeanor, had gained a reputation for profiling travelers who didn't fit his narrow idea of belonging. Spotting Rafi, Carter's gaze sharpened with suspicion. "Excuse me, sir," Carter said, stepping in front of Rafi. "This is a restricted area. Passengers aren't allowed beyond this point." Rafi smiled politely and reached for his ID. "I'm a pilot, officer. I'm heading to the crew lounge before my flight." Carter snorted, his eyes scanning Rafi from head to toe. "A pilot? Sure you are. Let me see that ID." Handing over his identification, Rafi maintained his composure despite Carter's dismissive tone. Carter glanced at the badge briefly before shaking his head. "This doesn't look legit. Where'd you get it? Some website." A small crowd began to gather, drawn by the escalating tension. Among the onlookers was Laura Stevens, a prominent aviation journalist who had just disembarked from a flight. Recognizing Rafi immediately, she furrowed her brow and approached, her journalist instincts kicking in. "What's going on here?" Laura asked, her voice cutting through the tension. Carter turned to her, irritation evident. "Just handling a security situation, ma'am. This man claims he's a pilot, but his story doesn't add up." Laura's eyes widened as she looked at Rafi and then back at Carter. "Claims? Do you have any idea who this is?" Carter raised an eyebrow. "Should I?" "This is Captain Rafael del Rosario," Laura said, her tone sharp. "He's one of the most respected figures in aviation. He's revolutionized safety protocols and received numerous awards for his contributions to the industry. If anyone belongs here, it's him." The crowd murmured, some pulling out their phones to record the interaction. Carter's confidence wavered. "That's not what his ID looked like to me," he muttered defensively. Laura crossed her arms. "Maybe that's because you didn't bother to check properly. Or maybe you assumed he couldn't be who he said he was because of how he looks. Either way, you owe him an apology." Before Carter could respond, Airport Director Martin Hayes arrived, alerted by the commotion. Spotting Rafi, Hayes' face lit up with recognition. "Captain Del Rosario, my apologies for the delay. Is everything all right?" Rafi nodded, though his expression carried a hint of frustration. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding, Director. Officer Carter here didn't think I looked the part of a pilot." Hayes' face darkened as he turned to Carter. "Officer, Captain Del Rosario is a guest of honor at today's aviation summit. He's not only a pilot, but a pioneer in the field. I expect better judgment from my staff." Carter stammered, his bravado crumbling under Hayes' stern gaze. I didn't know." "That's the problem," Laura interjected. "You didn't bother to find out before jumping to conclusions." Videos recorded by bystanders quickly spread on social media, sparking outrage. Hashtags like #RespectRafi and #EndRacial profiling trended within hours, drawing global attention to the incident. News outlets amplified the story, igniting a broader conversation about biases faced by professionals from diverse backgrounds. Though shaken by the experience, Rafi refused to let it overshadow his purpose at the summit. Later that day, he stood before a packed audience of industry leaders, his confidence undiminished. Speaking passionately about innovation, safety, and inclusivity, Rafi declared, "Today's skies are shared by people from every corner of the world. If we are to navigate them safely and successfully, we must recognize and value the contributions of all individuals, regardless of their background or appearance. Bias has no place in our industry, or any industry, The audience erupted into applause, rising for a standing ovation. Among them was Laura, who beamed with pride as she captured the moment for her article. Meanwhile, Officer Carter watched the event coverage from a break room television, his face a mix of shame and introspection. Suspended by the airport administration, he was required to attend cultural sensitivity and professional conduct training. The footage of his encounter with Rafi replayed in his mind, forcing him to confront the prejudices that had clouded his actions. As the summit concluded, Rafi was approached by passengers and colleagues eager to express their admiration and support. Though the day had begun with an unjust encounter, it ended with a reaffirmation of his mission to break barriers and inspire change, both in the cockpit and beyond. The story became a powerful symbol of resilience and progress, highlighting the need for systemic change while celebrating the achievements of those who rise above adversity. Rafi's legacy as an aviation pioneer remained untarnished, serving as a beacon of hope and possibility for future generations. As the summit came to an end, Captain Rafi del Rosario felt a wave of emotions wash over him. The events of the day had tested his patience and resolve, yet the overwhelming support from his peers and the public had reaffirmed his commitment to his mission. He had always believed in the power of aviation to bring people together, to bridge cultures and continents. Now, he was reminded that the true strength of the industry and society as a whole lay in its ability to learn, evolve, and embrace diversity. As Rafi prepared to leave the venue, he was approached by a group of young aviation students, their eyes wide with admiration. One of them, a Filipino American like Rafi, nervously stepped forward. "Captain Del Rosario," she began, her voice trembling, "you've been such an inspiration to me. Seeing someone who looks like me achieve so much, it gives me hope that I can do it too." Rafi smiled warmly, his heart swelling with pride. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Never let anyone tell you that you don't belong," he said. "You have every right to chase your dreams, and you'll find that the skies are open to anyone brave enough to soar." The student nodded, tears of gratitude brimming in her eyes, as the group took a photo with Rafi, a moment they would cherish forever. In the days that followed, the incident at the airport continued to make waves. News outlets carried interviews with Rafi, Laura Stevens, and aviation experts who emphasized the importance of addressing biases in the industry. The story sparked widespread discussions about inclusivity, professionalism, and the challenges faced by underrepresented groups in various fields. Rafi's words at the summit, "Bias has no place in our industry," became a rallying cry for change. Meanwhile, Officer Liam Carter underwent his mandated training with a mix of reluctance and reflection. He was paired with a mentor who guided him through exercises and discussions designed to challenge his preconceived notions. Over time, Carter began to see the world through a broader lens, recognizing the damage his actions had caused, not just to individuals like Rafi, but to the trust and unity that should define a shared space like an airport. Carter decided to take responsibility for his mistakes. During a meeting with the airport staff, he publicly apologized to Rafi, who graciously accepted the gesture. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong," Rafi said. "What matters now is what you do moving forward." Months later, Rafi returned to the same airport, this time greeted with respect and admiration from staff and travelers alike. The changes sparked by the incident were already evident. New training programs, improved protocols, and a commitment to fostering an environment where everyone felt valued. As Rafi boarded his next flight, he glanced out at the runway, the endless horizon stretching before him. He knew his journey wasn't over. There were still barriers to break, minds to change, and skies to conquer. But as he took his seat in the cockpit, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. His story wasn't just his own anymore. It belonged to everyone who dared to dream, who refused to give up, and who believed that the world could be better. With steady hands and an unwavering heart, Rafi prepared for takeoff, the promise of a brighter, more inclusive future guiding him forward.